1.3 is models and applications. So we're going to use linear equations to solve problems. So a model is a mathematical representation of a real-world situation. We'll use the following general steps in solving word problems. All right, so this is the steps I use when I'm solving for more than one unknown. Okay, so if it's just one, usually you can kind of pull the equations out of the problem, but if it's more than one, it gets a little tougher, so I use these steps. So step 1, we're going to let x represent one of our unknown quantities. Step 2, we're going to represent the other unknown quantities in terms of x. Step 3, we're going to write an equation in x that models the conditions. Step 4, we're going to solve the equation and answer the question. Your questions are from your step 1 and step 2, your unknowns. And then step 5, you're going to check the solution in the original wording of the problem, not in the equation obtained from the words. Because you want to look back at what the words are in the problem and make sure it fits it. Because if we wrote our equation wrong, our answer may be right for that equation, but wrong for the problem overall. So always check the original wording on word problems. All right, so example 1. It says the median starting salary of a computer science major exceeds that of an education major by $21,000. The median starting salary of an economics major exceeds that of an education major by $14,000. Combined, their median starting salaries are $140,000. Determine the median starting salaries of an education majors, computer science majors, and economics majors with a bachelor's degree. All right, so on your next slide here, you can see it starts with your steps. So step 1 says let x represent one of the unknown quantities. Well, if you look at what it's asking you for, that's where you're going to find your unknowns. In the last sentence, it says determine the median starting salaries of education majors, computer science majors, and economics majors. So let's let x be the starting salary of education majors. It doesn't matter. You could pick any of them. I just picked that one. All right, so x is going to be the salary. It's really the starting median salary, but we're going to say the salary of education majors. All right, now I'm going to go back to the other one, and I'm going to write my step 2 at the bottom so I don't have to flip back and forth. But we've got that x, step 1 is that x is equal to the salary of the education majors. So step 2, I got to flip back. I forgot what it said. It said represent the other unknown quantities in terms of x. So in step 2, I want to know the other unknowns in terms of x. Well, let's see. It says the median starting salary of a computer science major exceeds that of an education major by $21,000. So there's one of them. So which one makes more? The computer science. So computer science, I'm going to let it represent with a C, exceeds that of an education major by $21,000. So we're going to take the education major and we're going to add $21,000 to it. Well, remember in step 1 we said our education major was X. Then it says the economics major, that's our other unknown, exceeds that of an education major by $14,000. So our economics major, I'm going to let it be an E, exceeds that of an education major by $14,000. So we're going to take $14,000 and add it to that education major, which remember was X. So that's your step 2. Now your step 3, and y'all can still be on the other page. You can just look at this on your screen and then just fill in your page. Step 3, well, I'm going to have to move mine to see it. Says to write an equation in x that models the conditions. So, write an equation in x that models the conditions. So, it says combined, their median starting salaries are $140,000. What does it mean combined? It means we're going to add them all up. So, we would add the computer science plus the education plus the economics. Notice I put EC this time for economics, and they should equal $140,000. Well, what do we know about computer science? We said it was X plus 21,000. Plus the education, we said was just X. Plus the economics, we said was X plus 14,000. and this all is going to equal the 140,000. So there's our equation for step 3. All right, so then step 4 says to solve the equation and answer the question. So our equation was the x plus 21,000, which I'm getting rid of the parentheses, I don't need them, plus the x plus 14,000 equals 140,000. All right, so we're ready to solve this. I'm going to combine like terms. So x plus x plus x is 3x. 21,000 plus 14,000 is 35,000. And that's going to equal the 140,000. Okay, to solve for x, we're going to subtract the 35,000. And so we get 3x is equal to 105,000. Divide by 3. And we find x equals 35,000. All right, so we solved for x, and now we're going to answer the question. So it said to find the starting salaries of an education, computer science, and economics major. So remember the education major we said was X, so we know that it's just going to be the $35,000. We said the computer science major was X plus 21,000. Well, X is 35,000 plus 21,000, and so we find that to be $56,000. And the economics major we said was X plus 14,000. So X was 35,000 plus 14,000, and so we end up with $49,000. Now, step 5 says to check it within the words of the problem, okay? So, thinking back to the words of the problem, it said that a computer science major exceeded education major by $21,000. Is $56,000, $21,000 more than $35,000? Yes, it is. Said the economics major exceeded the education major by $14,000. So is $14,000 more than 35? Yes, it is. And it said combined that their salaries would be $140,000. Is $35,000 plus $56,000 plus $49,000 equal to $140,000? It is. So these are our answers right here. We know that they are reasonable answers. All right. So then example 2 here says you're choosing between 2 texting plans. Plan A has a monthly fee of $15 with a charge of 8 cents per text. Plan B has a monthly charge of $3 with a charge of 12 cents per text. For how many text messages will the cost for the 2 plans be the same? Well, we could use that 5-step plan, or let's go ahead and just use it. All right, so remember step 1. And you've got a slide after this one that's blank as well that you can use it. So step 1 says to pick what you want X to be. Well, what are we after? For how many text messages? So X is going to be the number of text messages. Step 2 says to let the other unknowns be represented by X. Well, I don't know plan A or plan B, but I know that plan A, it says, has a monthly fee of $15 and with a charge, so plus a charge of 8 cents per text. Well, the text is my X. And plan B there has a monthly fee of $3 with a charge of 12 cents per text. Step 3 says to write out the equation. So it says, for how many text messages will the cost for the 2 plans be the same? The same means equal. So we're looking for where our plan A is equal to our plan B. So that would be 15 plus 0.08x will equal 3 plus 0.12x. Step 4 says to solve and answer the questions. So we're going to solve that equation. All right, so when I do this, I'm going to move over my 0.08x. So I get 15 equals 3 plus 0.04x. Then I'm going to move over my 3. So 12 is equal to 0.04x. Then divide by the 0.04. And so we find that our x is equal to 300. Now, what were we after? We were just after how many text messages. So we were just after the x, right? So the number of text messages would be 300. So the plans will cost the same at 300 text messages. All right, so there's that extra slide. All right, so after a 30% price reduction, you purchased a new computer for $840. What was the computer's price before the reduction? So before we even worry about the actual numbers in this problem, let's just think about something. If I go to the store and I'm going to buy something and it's on sale, and no matter what the percentage is, okay, in order to find the sales price, I'm going to have to take my original price minus the discount, and that's going to give me the sale price. All right, so this one I'm going to try to do without my 5-step because I'm just after one thing. I want to know the price before the reduction. I want to know the original price. All right, so let's talk about how you find a discount. Okay, so a discount, if you want to know how much they're going to take off, you're going to take the percentage times the original price. Okay, so now let's try this problem. So remember, it's a 30% price reduction. After that, the price is going to be $840. I want to know the price before the reduction, so we're looking for the original price. So when I go through my little scenario here, what's the original price? We don't know, that's what we're after. Minus the discount. Well, how do we find the discount? The percentage, so 30%, times the original price, which is X, is going to equal the sales price. That's the amount after the reduction of the $840. So I've got X minus, now 30% we need as a decimal, so remember, move the decimal 2 places to the left or divide it by 100. So we end up with 0.3x equals 840. And now I'm just going to solve. Now remember, this is a 1 in front of that x, so 1x minus 0.3x is 0.7x equals 840. Divide by the 0.7, and so we get x equals 1,200. Well, that would be my original price. Does that seem reasonable? Yeah, it's a nice discount, 1,200 to 840. It's not too big. I mean, if it was like double the price of it, that would be more than a 50% discount, so we know we'd be wrong. So 1,200 is probably about 30%. So I think our answer is reasonable. So the original price is $1,200. All right, now this is probably the harder of the word problems. So it said you inherited $5,000 with a stipulation that for the first year the money had to be invested in 2 funds paying 9% and 11% annual interest. How much did you invest at each rate if the total interest earned for the year was $487? Well, it says we're after how much did you invest at each rate. So I'm after the amount invested at each rate, which means I'm after more than one thing. So I'm going to use my 5 steps. All right, so for step 1, I need to let X represent one of the unknowns. Well, I have 2 unknowns. How much did you invest at each rate? So I have the amount invested at 9%. And then with step 2, that's to let your other unknowns be, write an equation using x for them. So my other is the amount invested at 11%. Now, this has nothing to do with the 9% and the actual 11%. It's the Fund 1 and Fund 2. Just I labeled them by the percentage, okay? So think about this. If I have $5,000 and I put X amount into one fund, that means I'm going to have $5,000 minus whatever I put into the first fund left for the second one, okay? All right, step 3. Now, it says, how much did you invest at each rate if the total interest earned for the year was $487? So that's an interest amount. So I'm going to need the interest for the 9% account plus the interest for the 11% account, and that's going to equal our total interest. Now, we're talking about, it said it's 9% and 11% annual interest. So that's the amount for the whole year. So to find that interest amount, you're going to take the percentage times the amount invested. So for the 9%, we're going to take that 9% times the amount invested at 9%. Plus with 11%, then we're going to take 11% times the amount invested at 11. And that's going to equal our total interest, which they said is $487. So 9% as a number is 0.09. The amount we invested at 9%, that was our X. Plus 11% as a number is 0.11. And the amount invested at 11%, that was the $5,000 minus X. And that's equal to the 487. So there's my equation. Step 4 says to solve and answer the question. All right, so we have, did I not give you a blank? I didn't give you a blank one. I so apologize on that. I thought I had one. So what we had there, I'm going to have to just erase mine. You can find a blank space right in the margin or something there. Was we had 0.09 times X plus 0.11 times 5,000 minus X. And that equaled the 487. So when I multiply these, I get 0.09x. I'm going to distribute this. So this is going to give me plus 550 minus 0.11x equals 487. Combine like terms. So negative 0.02x plus 550, equals 487 minus the 550. So negative 0.02x equals negative 63 divided by negative 0.02. And so we find that x is equal to 3,150. Now, notice you had written previously, I can't pull mine back up, but you had said x equaled the amount invested at 9%, right? So you know that amount is 3,150. Then you put the amount invested at 11% was 5,000 minus x. So this is going to be 5,000 minus 3,150, which gives you $1,850. So there is your two answers. So to check it, remember, check, does it seem to make sense? It's hard with the percentages because we're not good with those, but if nothing else, do those add up to be $5,000? And they do, so therefore, they're reasonable answers. All right, and example 5 says the length of a rectangular basketball court is 44 feet more than the width. If the perimeter of the basketball court is 288 feet, what are its dimensions? What does it mean by dimensions? Well, dimensions are just your length and width. So I'm after more than one thing. So I'm going to go ahead and use my 5 steps. So we're going to let x equal, it can be the length or the width. I'm going to go ahead and let it be my width. And so in that case, our length, sorry, my E and my L ran together there. I mean, my E and my N ran together there. There we go. So let's see here. It says the length is, that's equals, so nice. I already got length equals 44 feet more than. More means we're adding, but remember than means put it at the end. The width, and we said the width was going to be x. All right, now to write out our equation. It says if the perimeter of the basketball court is 288 feet, so the perimeter equals 288 feet. Well, if nothing else, remember perimeter of a rectangle. Rectangle, opposite sides are equal. Perimeter is all the sides added together. So we have a length plus a width plus a width to equal the 288. And then these two are like, so L plus L would be 2L, and W plus W would be 2W equals 288, which some of y'all may recognize. That is the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. So then we know L up above in step 2 is x plus 44, so I'm going to replace it. Plus 2, we said W, which is going to be x, equals 288. And there's my equation for step 3. Step 4 says to solve it and to answer the problem. So we got 2 times x plus 44 plus 2 times x equals 288. So I'm going to distribute this first 2. So 2x plus 88 plus 2x equals 288. Combine like terms. 2x plus 2x is 4x plus 88 equals 288. Subtract the 88. So 4x equals 200. Divide by 4. And we find x equals 50. So the width was x, which is just 50 feet. And the length was x plus 44, which is 50 plus 44, which is 94 feet. And so we can check that within our problem. It says the length is 44 feet more than the width. So is 44 more than 50? Yes. Is the perimeter going to be 288? Well, if I take 50 plus 94 plus 94, I will get 288. So here are my solutions. Okay, and so what I did, because I'm going to be out, is I went ahead, and the next part is super duper short. So we're going to go ahead and do day 2 along with it. So I'm just going to call this the 1.3 day 1 and 2 notes. All right, so continuing on, this part, all we're going to do is solve a formula for a variable. So remember, solving a formula for a variable just means rewriting the formula so that the variable is isolated on one side of the equation. The only thing that makes this hard for y'all is that there's more than one letter involved in it. But remember, you're going to just solve like you would if it was all numbers, moving one thing at a time. So example 1 says we're going to solve the formula P equals 2L plus 2W for W. I want to get W by itself. Right now it's right here, and it's connected with that 2. So I need to get rid of the 2L, and I'm going to do that by subtracting it. Now P and L are not like terms, so I'm going to leave this as P minus 2L equals, and that's a positive 2W. Then to get rid W by itself, I need to get rid of the 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I find that W is equal to P minus 2L all over 2. Now, that's not the only way you can write it though, okay? If I'm dividing P and 2L both by 2, I could have written this then, or let me go back to the step here where I had P minus 2L equals 2W. We could have said we're going to divide everything here by 2. And if I'd have done that, I'd have got W equals, I'd have P over 2 minus, and those 2's would have canceled and just got an L. So I could write it like that. Or remember, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. There's a 1 there and the 2 on bottom. So we could write it as y equals 1/2, excuse me, 1/2 P minus L. So any of these 3 answers are correct. Just depends on which type of an answer choice you're looking for. And then on this one here, our last example, we've got P equals C plus MC, and we're solving for C. The problem is here is we got more than one C, and we can't combine them because C plus MC are not like terms. We can't actually add them. But I do notice that both of these terms have this C in common, which means I can common factor. So I'm going to take a C out of them. And so remember, when we common factor, we take that common thing and we put it outside the parenthesis, and then we divide both of these by it. Well, C divided by C is 1, plus MC divided by C. Those C's will cancel, and we get M. And this is still P equals. Now I want to solve for C, so I need to get rid of that parenthesis. Well, that's C times the parenthesis, so we do the opposite, which is divide. So I'm going to divide by the parenthesis, and it doesn't matter if you put the parenthesis or not, okay? So we get P over 1 plus M equals C. Now I can't do like what we did on the previous example. This one, the plus or the minus sign, plus in this case, is in the denominator, so you can't split them up. You only split them when it's in the numerator. So this is our solution.